Ah, my child, sit close, because this is one of those lessons life whispers to you many times, but most people are too afraid to listen. You see, there's a quiet war that rages inside every person, the struggle between belonging and being different. And for most of us, belonging wins. We bend ourselves into shapes we were never meant to take, just to fit into circles that were never meant for us. But let me tell you something. History has never remembered the ones who blended in. It remembers the ones who had the courage to stand apart. When you are young, you feel the pressure to be like everyone else. Wear the same clothes, talk the same way, think the same thoughts. It feels safe, doesn't it? Being part of the crowd means you don't stand out. You don't get laughed at. You don't risk rejection. But here's the cruel truth. When you bury your uniqueness to be accepted, you slowly suffocate your soul. The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard once said, "The crowd is untruth." He meant that truth rarely lies in following the masses. The masses follow comfort. The brave follow conviction. I remember when I was your age, there was a boy in our town who loved painting. His parents wanted him to study engineering because that's what smart boys did in those days. He tried, oh, how he tried, but every formula he memorized felt like a prison, and every canvas he touched felt like freedom. The world told him he was foolish. Artists don't make money. Artists don't succeed. But that boy, he chose to be different. He chose his brush over the books. Years later, when his art was displayed in a gallery, the same people who mocked him lined up to praise him. That, my dear, is the reward of difference. But don't let me romanticize it too much. Being different is not easy. It can feel lonely, terrifying, and sometimes even dangerous. Think of Socrates, who refused to follow the blind traditions of Athens. He asked questions no one wanted to answer, and for his courage, he was given poison. The world often punishes the ones who dare to be different. But listen carefully. Socrates died, yes, but his ideas lived on for centuries, shaping philosophy, law, and ethics. The crowd silenced his voice, but they could not silence his truth. That is the paradox. Society mocks the different ones, but secretly it craves their courage. Most people spend their lives trying to hide what makes them unusual. But what if I told you that the very thing you are hiding is the very thing that can change your life? Do you feel too emotional? That means you can understand people in ways others cannot. Do you feel too stubborn? That could mean you have the determination to fight for things others give up on. Do you feel too quiet? Maybe you have the gift of deep observation, seeing things others miss. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. If you try it, you will often be lonely. But no price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself." Owning yourself. Ah, what a beautiful phrase, to walk through life with your head high, knowing you stayed true to who you are. That, my dear, is freedom. Let me tell you another story. There was once a girl in school, a quiet one, often mocked because she preferred books over gossip and questions over answers. The others laughed at her, called her weird. Years later, when life tested that same group of classmates, who do you think they turned to? Not the ones who followed the crowd blindly, but the one who dared to think differently, to see the world from another angle. She became a leader, not because she tried to be, but because she refused to be anyone else. This is the power of difference. The same thing that makes you an outcast today can make you unforgettable tomorrow. So here is where I will pause today, my child. The world is always whispering, fit in, be like us, don't make noise, don't stand out. But the universe whispers something else, something quieter, but infinitely stronger. Be yourself, even if it costs you. The question is, which voice will you follow? Remember, the courage to be different is the courage to live truly. And no one can take that away from you. Let me tell you something most people won't. Being different has a price, and that price is often loneliness. You see, when you stop following the crowd stops walking with you. Friends may fade, family may misunderstand, and strangers may judge. And in those moments, you will wonder, was it worth it? The writer, Henry David Thoreau, who lived alone by a pond for 2 years, said, "If a man does not keep pace with his companions, perhaps it is because he hears a different drummer." Ah, a different drummer. That's what being different feels like. Walking to music no one else can hear. And yes, it can feel isolating, but it also makes life beautiful. Because when you walk to your own rhythm, you create a life that is truly yours. Think of Galileo Galilei. He looked at the stars and whispered, "The earth moves around the sun." The church roared back, "Blasphemy!" They silenced him, locked him away. Yet today, every child in school learns that Galileo was right. The world mocked him because truth is often born in solitude. In your own life, this mockery may not come from churches or kings. It may come from friends who say, "Why do you think differently?" It may come from colleagues who will laugh at your ideas. It may even come from family who insist you follow the safe path. But here is the secret. Mockery is often the world's clumsy way of admitting that you scare them. You scare them because you remind them of the freedom they gave up. When you choose to be different, you must rely on something deeper than applause. You must develop what I call your inner compass. This compass is built on values, convictions, and the quiet knowledge of who you are. The Greek philosopher Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Yes, foolish and stupid. To the crowd, authenticity will always look like madness. But to your soul, it will feel like truth. There will be nights when you cry into your pillow thinking, "Why can't I just be like them?" But those nights are not signs of weakness. They are proof that you are alive, awake, and refusing to betray yourself. Let me tell you another story. There was once a young man who wanted to write poetry. He came from a family of businessmen. His father said, "There is no future in poems. Sell houses instead." His uncles laughed at him. His friends told him he was wasting his time. And yet he kept writing, quietly, silently. When everyone slept, he wrote under the dim light of a candle. Years passed, and one day one of his poems was published in a newspaper. People wrote back saying, "This poem spoke the words I never had." That one poem became the crack in the wall. More came. Eventually, he became a poet whose words healed thousands. Now tell me, what would have happened if he had silenced himself? If he had buried his gift to keep the peace? The world would have lost beauty, and he would have lost his soul. The real reward of being different is not money or fame or applause. The real reward is freedom. When you no longer need to pretend, when you no longer wear masks, when you can look at yourself in the mirror and smile, that is freedom. The German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer once said, "It is difficult to find happiness within oneself, but it is impossible to find it anywhere else." Ah, isn't that the truth? If you keep searching for happiness in other people's approval, you will never find it. But if you build your life on the foundation of your own truth, happiness follows like a faithful shadow. Now, my dear, let me share with you a few practical truths for living courageously. 1. Accept loneliness as a companion, not an enemy. Great minds have always walked alone. Loneliness is not punishment. It is the soil where authenticity grows. 2. Find your tribe. Being different doesn't mean being alone forever. Somewhere out there are people who share your rhythm. It may take time, but when you find them, the connection is unshakable. 3. Turn pain into art. Whether through writing, painting, music, or simple honesty, channel the weight of being different into something that speaks. Your pain can become another's survival guide. 4. Stand tall in your values. The world will tempt you to bend, to compromise, to water yourself down. But remember, watered-down souls quench no one's thirst. Think of the people you admire most in history. Were they the ones who blended in? They were the ones who dared to stand apart. Martin Luther King Jr., who dreamed a dream others called impossible. Rosa Parks, who sat in a seat others told her she couldn't. Albert Einstein, who failed school in some subjects but redefined physics. Maya Angelou, who rose from pain to write words that healed millions. Every one of them was told, "You are wrong, you are strange, you don't belong." And yet, they changed the world precisely because they were different. So, my child, let me leave you with this. The courage to be different is the courage to be alive. Yes, it will hurt. Yes, you will be mocked. Yes, you will be misunderstood. But the alternative, living as a copy of someone else, is far worse. The poet Rumi once said, "Don't get lost in your pain. Know that one day your pain will become your cure." And I say to you, don't get lost in your difference. One day your difference will become your gift. So walk boldly, dance to your own drum, and when the world asks why you don't follow, smile gently and say, "Because I was born to lead my own way."